Hi. So in this module, which is user interface, we're going to study a lot about design, what is right for a user face, and how we're going to get to making a great user interface for our websites. The first lecture is design elements, and this is important because in order to make and design a user interface, we should know the basics and the conventions of design. So here are our 6 main elements of design, which are line, shape, color, texture, mass, and space. And I'm going to save you all those difficult definitions that you usually Google or search to, and I'm going to make it easier for you to understand. Starting with line. Lines are one of the primary things that are included in your design. And many different types of lines have different types of meanings. Sometimes we use lines to divide, like this one. Sometimes we use them to give some sort of gesture, and sometimes we use them for decoration, like here, this line. In design, there are a lot of abstract meanings that are involved from what is being displayed. So here I'm going to briefly tell you what some of these lines mean, which are the basic lines which you'll see in almost all designs. So horizontal and vertical lines basically give you a feeling of uniformity. Horizontal lines represent rest, and vertical lines represent some sort of tall image or grandeur or grand image. You want to use horizontal lines for stability and vertical lines where you're trying to convey something huge or very professional. Zigzag lines represent action or haphazardness, and you would see them in comics or someplace like where there are signs of warning. Curved lines represent motion, they represent sensuality, comfort, and sometimes familiarity, just like ocean waves and air. Thick lines represent boldness, and thin lines represent sleekness or professionalism. Spiral lines are mostly used for spiritual and religious representations. They can also be used to represent nature. Next we have our shapes, which we divide in 3 categories: geometric, organic, and abstract. Now geometrical shapes are which we are all familiar with. Organic shapes are irregular shapes that convey some sort of abstract, and the abstract shapes, well, are a mixture of shapes that represent some sort of affiliation that we already have. Like in here, we have, when we see this, we think of a house. When we see this, we see water or rain. And when we see this, we always think of a diamond. But these shapes can give you a meaning in your design. Shapes also give us some sort of meaning, just like the abstract feelings I just talked about. And this can represent art, the organic shapes. Our triangle here can give some sort of action feeling or some danger feeling. A circle can give us a feeling of spirit or sacredness. And a rectangle can give us some sort of, or a square can give us some sort of trust or professional feeling. We will talk about color later on in another lecture, but for here, there are some basic methods how colors are used. Some are relative. You would see sites where there are mostly 2 colors and they're used on each other to give some sort of relative feeling. Enhancing colors is basically the shades of the same color, which gives a very professional look to your website. And absence of color is usually mostly used in graphics to convey some sort of abstractness. When we use a texture, we're trying to give the user a tactile feeling. We are using his visual senses. They can give us a feeling of some physical object, and this is how we can make our design come to life. In design, mass is all about size. We need to take care of the size of any shape or any object we're putting in our design with relevance to the whole. Like as you can see, this entire slide. If this slide, you see the leaves If this was bigger, like a whole laptop screen, and this mask column was really small, or the same size, we would feel differently about it. If it was exactly this size and the background was bigger, this part would appear small. And if it was bigger or smaller, we would see it differently. Space, which we refer to as white space or negative space, is a very important part of your design. It can be the space between two objects. Also, it can be the space between the entire dimensions and that one object in your design. Space is very important to give a neat and professional look to your design.